Um, uh, Sorry, I don't know how long this one was going to be. I have to be somewhere at 6:30, 6:40ish, which gives us 2 hours. So.
Must have a hot date.
No, I have to give somebody a ride actually. So.
Oh.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was explaining to them what happened to my hair. So, my son likes to crawl up behind me on the couch and move my head around. Then eventually he grabs the hair and moves the head around. And then he decides to try to rip the hair out. And
nice.
That just makes me upset. So I have 2 nieces that are in beauty college, and we were in Vegas. And so my wife was like, why don't you have them, you could do a haircut, you could take a picture of it, and then afterwards buzz it. That way you can get practice doing a haircut, and then at the end just chop it all off like this,
right?
And maybe he won't yank on my hair, making me happy, which makes the wife happy to an extent, you know what I mean? So that's really what it boiled down to.
Nice.
She was just trying to save me some aggravation.
Right.
Save me from wanting to destroy the child. Because, oh gosh. He likes to beat on me.
So are we live on anything?
Yeah, we're live.
On Twitch or YouTube?
Yeah, we're live on Twitch in the Just Chatting section.
Oh, I see.
So I went to Just Chatting. I think we'll still read a chapter. And I can still do some drawings.
At chapter 11. Let's see here. Anything else going on in the world today? Oh, this is completely unrelated to anything except for people that live in Utah. It snowed or whatever you want to call that.
What the heck happened?
I don't understand what that was.
We got home because we rented a car. So we got home to take the car back last night. And our car
that sat there
was covered in mud.
Yes. I mean, it literally snowed or rained or whatever you want to call it, mud.
Really?
And the entire state was covered in mud. I mean, my car was
just up here.
It was the entire state as far as I know because I put it on Facebook. I was like, what the hell happened? And what was really funny is the next day I had to go to work, and I woke up and my car's all covered in this clay, mud, nasty shit.
Nasty.
And I can't even see out the windows.
No.
And so I decided, well, I'll just swing by the car wash and go through it. No big deal.
Everybody and grandmother.
There was a line around the block. I was like, oh, screw this. So I just went to work, and so my car stayed dirty for at least 4 days. And then when I went to the car wash, and it was the brushless kind, it was just spraying it off. Apparently I need a brush because that stuff just wasn't coming off very easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still got this residue all over it.
I got in and hit the windshield wipers.
Yeah, that's like
and
smear.
And I got enough of an opening. I got out, I tried using the squeegee thing.
Right.
But I couldn't, it didn't work. And so we have residential road back down and across the light to the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
But the car rental's the other way. It's over just across the street down there where like the Army Navy.
Right.
So it was like I told her, I'm going to get the windows first because no way I'm going to try to cross traffic down there with these windows, and I had to go and I had to dip the thing into the water like
hundreds
3 or 4 times.
I know.
And oh my gosh,
and
the only other thing I thought of is did it blow in a storm? Because sometimes when a storm's coming, it like blows it in really hard. And it can kick up a lot of dirt in the air.
Right.
So when it did it blow in a storm, kick a bunch of dirt, and then just barely snow enough to come down on the top and make that all mud.
Right.
Is that what happened?
I don't know. I mean, because my car. I was working, at the restaurant, and it was snowing outside. It was fairly pretty looking. It was big fat snow or whatever. But then when I got out to my car was covered in the snowy slush stuff, and I didn't think much about it. Got in, went home, and the next morning when I woke up, my car was just caked with that clay-like substance. And the only time I've ever really experienced that in any other part of the world was I remember I was fairly close to when the Mount St. Helens, blew off.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of crap that would get all over everybody's car then. But I can't explain what the hell. I mean, there was no volcano that erupted that I know of.
Right.
It's like, what the hell happened? So, yeah. But anyway, that should have been entertaining for anybody that's not in Utah. But for those people in Utah, you know exactly what I'm talking about because it was nasty.
Yeah.
And people are still washing their cars. I get home from my work sometimes, and it'll be like 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, midnight, and I drive by this one gas station that happens to have one of those automated drive-through car washes, and there's still a line. Even at midnight.
That explains when we were coming home. There's a car wash just down the road, at the bottom of the hill here. No wonder why there's 50 million people in it.
That's why. Because every car in Utah.
Why there's 50 million people there.
Because every car in Utah.
Well, northern Utah, because we drove through the bottom half. We came up through St. George, and.
But what's funny is
that down there.
Those poor car dealerships and stuff. Also, I mean, they all look like hell right now.
Those guys that wash the cars daily, they got they're getting their money's worth out of them today.
Right.
You know what I'm gonna do today for drawing? I'm gonna relax a little. Is that okay?
Relax.
I'm gonna just draw some faces.
You're just gonna draw faces. Anybody related to, or you don't know yet until
I don't know. Maybe I could do that.
Okay.
But I think I'm just gonna.
Well, this one's we did chapter 10 last time. I'm doing chapter 11. What?
No, go ahead.
Chapter 11 is called New Friends.
New Friends. All right. So.
A loud bell stirs Lucius to consciousness the next morning. He dresses quickly and heads down the stairs to see where it is coming from. In the front of the room of the house, Spaz, Skank, and Kane are already headed out the door. "Hey, what is that?" Lucius asks, but the door shutting is the only answer. "The breakfast bell," a voice answers from behind him. Lucius turns to find a red-robed student. He recognizes the shy, withdrawn figure as Zed, even though he still has never seen Zed's face. "Hello again. Do you live in this house also?" Lucius asks. "Come on, we don't want to be late," Zed replies as he heads for the door. The grand dining room is set for breakfast, and the servants are busy making last-minute adjustments. The students are seated at the end of one of the massive dining room tables, with the teachers at the head to keep watch over them. The table is large enough to seat many more people, but as the people of the kingdom arrive and take seats, all three grand tables fill to capacity. The guests are dressed in their finest clothing and wear their fanciest jewelry. The door at the front of the room opens, and the halfling crier announces the arrival of the king and queen. The meal is served when the king and queen are seated. The students, including Lucius, begin eating with no regard for the rest of the room. The rest of the room uses the time to address the king about the day's business, the business they believe is important. The head of each family takes their turn approaching and bowing to the king. After the king has returned their bow, they unleash all their grievances regarding the kingdom. The students and the teachers leave the room as they finish their meal. Lucius waits for Mikno by the exit of the dining room. Do those people ever eat, or are they just here to see the king? Lucius asks Mikno as he reaches the door. Good morning to you, Lucius, Mikno responds. I'm sorry, Mikno. Good morning. You still need to work on your customs, Lucius, but I understand, in answer to your questions, they will continue to bother the king till noon. Lunch will be served, but they will most likely won't eat that either, Mikno explains as he leads Lucius out of the dining room and down the hallway toward the grand staircase room. How is everything so far, Lucius? I like the class, but I thought we were going to work on the inner energy. Instead, we are working on our body. All we do is exercise. You'll probably hate to hear this, but I think you will just have to wait and be patient. The body is the vessel that carries your energy. To find the energy, we must be in tune with our body. Lucius nods his head and continues walking silently. Mikno must see something is still bothering Lucius. Lucius, I'm sorry, but that is all I can tell you right now. Oh, it's not that, Lucius asserts. What is bothering you then? Lucius looks around to make sure no one is close enough to hear him, and then answers in a whisper. My roommates hate me and I have no friends. Even Izzy has a group of people she hangs around with, and they don't seem to want to include me. I'm not sure I can help you with this. Your roommates are what you have to deal with. As for Izzy and that group she hangs around with, I think staying away from them would be wiser for you. That group is away from school more than they are here. When Jesse finds out that Izzy is leaving the castle with that group, she'll most likely force Izzy back home. But everyone calls the house I live in the freak house. Who is everyone, Lucius? Not everyone, but Max and the group Izzy hangs around with said it. Consider the source. Find new friends. It has only been a day, Mikno declares as he walks into the center of the castle garden. Lucius continues in the beginner's class for another month and still doesn't feel he has learned how to do anything but run and try to relax. At the end of the month, he feels fit enough to run all the way to Jesse's house without stopping, but he doesn't know how to feel about the meditation part of the class. He listens to Mikno talk about the energy and flow, but all he can feel is the pounding of his heart. He feels strange staring at the wall in front of him, but is afraid to ask questions because he knows the answer will be, please be patient. And his classmates seem upset every time he asks Mikno a question. He is sure he will have an easier time finding a friend if he can just fit in. As the month goes by, he sees Izzy once in a while. She comes and goes from the school as she pleases. Lucius avoids his roommates as much as possible, knowing Kane is easier to get along with as long as you don't make direct eye contact. The beginner's class ends with very little fanfare. Lucius doesn't receive a new robe. The class just moves to a new room with more students. The classroom has every color of robe in it, and the students line up for the start of the class in order of rank from highest to lowest. Mikno kneels in front of the class and after bowing to the class begins to speak. I would like to welcome our new student to the class. The class is dedicated to the study of the energy, to the flow of energy. We will study the movement of our body and the movements of others. This process will give us a better understanding of energy. He finishes his short speech and bows again to the class. The class returns the bow, and Mikno stands. He points to the highest ranking student at the front of the line. The student bows to him, quickly stands, and moves over to stand in front of the class with Mikno. Mikno stands ready as the student rushes him with the intention of grabbing hold of his arm. Migno steps slightly to one side of the student and lightly places his hand on the student's lean arm. He and the student move as one person. Migno spins in place, and the student runs around him trying to maintain balance. Migno increases his speed, and the student is forced away from the circle and falls, landing a few feet away. Migno and the student repeat the same attack and circular movement 3 more times, so the students watching can see what is happening from every angle. Migno faces the class again. Did you see the energy flow? The forward movement of my attacker was the flow. I did not interrupt the flow. Interrupting the flow causes conflict. We do not seek conflict. We are here to feel the energy, become one with the energy. Excuse me. COVID. Find a partner and practice what I have shown you. The new students work with the older students. The students stand and move around looking for a partner. Lucius searches for a robe color other than green, but most of the students have already found matching opponent, and he is left with little choice. Spaz, Skank, and Kane are left to choose from, and Kane and Spaz team up together, leaving Skank and Lucius as partners. Skank reluctantly bows to Lucius before starting their practice session. Lucius bows back as Skank waits for the attack. Lucius waits for the attack as well. Skank, annoyed by Lucius, demandingly says, "Come on, you have to attack first so I can show you what to do." Lucius nods his head and lunges. Skank is taken completely by surprise, is unable to move in time, and Lucius slams into him, sending him crashing to the ground. "What are you, stupid or something? I wasn't ready," Skank announces, scrambling to his feet.
I wasn't ready. I thought you just said.
Lucius rushes forward to apologize for his mistake. "Sorry, I thought I was supposed to." "Stop thinking. Primates shouldn't think," Skank declares. Lucius stares angrily at Skank, who is straightening his robe. "I said I was sorry. Are you ready this time?" "No, I'm not ready. I'll let you know. Just stand there till I say so." "Is there a problem over here?" Migno asks. Lucius and Skank turn to face Migno. "Sir, he ran me down without warning," Skank explains. "I did not," Lucius responds. "He said he wanted me to attack." Migno looks to Skank and asks, "Do you think you will always know when someone is about to attack?" "People don't let you know when they attack. We practice so we can respond and blend with the energy. And I want you two to continue without talking." "Yes, sir," Lucius and Skank both respond. Lucius rushes again, and Skank is able to blend with him and lead him in a circle. He attacks 3 more times and they switch. Lucius stands ready as Skank dashes violently towards him. He moves out of the way but is unable to control Skank's direction. The harder he pulls on Skank's arm, the more Skank resists. Migno offers some advice. "I told you we must not conflict with the energy. You are trying to use your strength to affect the energy's flow. You cannot force your will on the energy. You must move with the energy. Once you are moving with the energy, you will be able to influence its movement, but not by force, but by teamwork. The energy is your teammate." He moves in front of Lucius and says, "I will show you. Please attack me." Lucius rushes, and Migno moves to one side and gently lays his hand on Lucius' arm. Lucius doesn't feel any resistance in his movement forward, and for a moment Migno moves in perfect sync with Lucius. Migno increases his speed, causing Lucius to increase his. Migno begins his first turn, and Lucius feels as if he actually wanted to move in that direction. Lucius is now moving in a circle around Migno and is fighting to keep up. He runs wildly in a circle, eventually losing his balance and falling to the floor. Migno looks down at him and asks, "Did you feel any conflict?" Lucius shakes his head as he looks up. "No, I didn't feel anything. I'm not sure why I ended up here." "That is because I was moving with your energy. I was your energy's partner. Now, please continue." The class continues for another 2 hours, trying different partnered exercises similar to the first one. Lucius gets to work with many different partners. The last partner is Zed. The other students in class have their hoods down so everyone can see their face, but Zed still has his up during the exercise. Lucius can see his face better, since Zed is forced to stare at his opponent. Lucius can finally see what he has been trying to hide. Zed's face is covered in burn scars. After class, the students head back to their houses. As Lucius walks into the house, he can see Spaz's hate-filled voice calling from behind. "Hey, Lucius, you saw the freak, didn't you?" Lucius turns to face Spaz, Skank, and Kane, and Misty are standing on the porch of the house. "What freak?" Lucius asks. "Oh, don't act stupid. You saw Zed's face," Skank blurts out. "Do you know how he got that way?" Misty asks and answers. "His family was burned to death, but he survived." "So, accidents happen," Lucius responds. "No, Primate, it wasn't an accident. He killed his family," Spaz responds. "You don't know that for sure. Did you ever ask him what happened?" "You're crazy, human. We know better than to go around bothering a maniac like him," Spaz explains. "If he is a maniac, why are you and the others in this house still alive?" Lucius asks. "We are just trying to help you. I should have known your human brain wouldn't comprehend. See you later, monkey," Spaz declares as he turns to leave. "Come on, guys, let's leave the monkey alone."
There you go. There's the crier announcing the king.
Yeah, right. Time passes and the classes continue the same way for 6 months. They are very physical, although the meditation and relaxation classes are still a regular part of training. Lucius still hasn't seen any benefit to the meditation classes. The students have claimed to see wonderful things when they are meditating, but all Lucius sees is a wall. He has become very good at all the physical movements and can react quickly when attacked. But the other students are progressing well. Except for Kane. He is unable to keep from using his muscles. His power has always come from his muscles, and he finds it strange to give in to the notion that power can come from anywhere else. He has been at the school for 3 years and still hasn't progressed past green robes. Lucius and his roommates still don't get along with each other. Spaz, Kane, and Skank take turns making his life miserable. And in class, they try to make each exercise as painful as possible. Lucius tries to ignore these attacks, but everyone has their limits. The class watches as the lead student attacks Mikno. Mikno moves to the back side of the student, lightly grabbing the student by the shoulders, leading the student's head in a direction he wishes. The student is led in a circle around, and at the last moment is forced over Mikno's hip and is thrown to the ground. Mikno shows the movement from several different angles, and then turns to address the class. This particular exercise shows what can be accomplished when you control your opponent's energy. Muscles are not needed to throw your opponent. Your opponent throws himself. I want everyone to be careful with this throw. It can be dangerous. Find a partner. Kane takes this opportunity to choose Lucius. Lucius attacks first. Kane is able to move out of the way, but is unable to blend properly. This fact doesn't matter to him. He uses his strength to lift Lucius up over his head and throw him violently to the ground. Lucius hits the ground hard and everybody stops when they hear the impact. Mikno rushes over to see what happened. "Kane, what have you done?" he asks. "Sorry, sir, I guess he was too light," Kane responds, looking down at Lucius. Lucius stares angrily at Kane and painfully exhales. "It's okay, I'm all right." He stands to his feet and responds, "Okay, you get 2 more tries, then it's my turn." Lucius attacks, and each time Kane throws him harder to the floor. Lucius slowly stands to his feet on the last throw and announces, "My turn." Kane rushes, and Lucius moves quickly and precisely, blending with Kane's energy. He increases the speed, and Kane sprints to keep up. It happens with the blink of an eye, and Kane is sent sailing over Lucius's hip. He flies several feet into the air and crashes into Spaz and Skank, who are watching the spectacle nearby. The three of them crumble into a pile on the floor. Kane is the first to get back up, unable to control his rage as he charges Lucius. He doesn't get far as he is hoisted in the air by a small tornado. We are not here to do battle. We are here to help each other. Class is over, and you two will stay here so I can give a punishment. The rest of you are dismissed. The students of class leave. Kane and Lucius kneel in front of Mikno. How can I end this conflict between the two of you? Sir, I apologize for my actions. I was unable to do the exercise quickly, and I acted out of frustration, Kane explains. That's a lie. He and those other two are always trying to get me to fight, Lucius screams. Yes, it is true. We have teased him too often, and for that I apologize, Kane responds. Oh, come on. He doesn't mean it. He's lying. Kane, please leave. I need to talk to Lucius alone, Mikno responds. Kane leaves the room, and Mikno waits till he is far away before he turns to Lucius to speak. Lucius, I need to speak to you about using magic for violence. I didn't use magic. I know you didn't. But you are using your knowledge for revenge. Is it revenge or justice? Should I let them continue to bully me? Lucius, I am not speaking to you as a teacher. I am your guardian. I am responsible for you. People are watching you closely. They want you to fail. We have to prove that humans can live with elves without being violent. How long should I wait before I defend myself? Lucius asks. I just need you to be sure it is defense and not revenge. Okay? Be careful. Lucius walks Mikno home and continues on the porch of the house. Skank.
Spaz, Spank. Who?
Skank and Kane
Skank? What?
are waiting for Lucius to arrive. Well, the monkey has come back to the cage, Spaz remarks as he stands and walks over to block Lucius from reaching the front door. I just want to go to my room, Lucius announces. Skank and Kane join Spaz to surround Lucius. You have no room, little monkey, Kane says in a deep growl. You thought that was funny in class, didn't you? Do you think you could do it again? He asked, pushing Lucius from behind. Lucius faces Kane. I'm not getting into this. Do you think I would try to fight all three of you? You don't have to fight all three of us, just him, Skank snickers as he points at Kane. Forget it. I'm leaving, Lucius says as he pushes past Skank and heads off the porch. Wait, monkey. You wanted to learn magic. Let me teach you, Spaz declares. Lucius feels his feet lift away from the porch. A strong wind carries him off the porch and he flails through the air, landing backside first on the road leading to the house. He struggles to his feet, trying to regain what the wind has knocked out of him. He turns to face the house. Thud. A body slams into his. The momentum of the body smashes him to the ground. He looks up to see Kane standing over him. Come on, Ewan. You're supposed to be stronger. Get up. I promise I won't use any magic, Kane exclaims. That should be an easy promise to keep, Spaz screams from the porch. Lucius slowly stands. I won't fight you, he repeats. Good, that'll make it easier, Kane says. Fine, Lucius says, waiting for Kane to make the first move. Kane moves slowly forward till he is within striking distance of Lucius. Are you ready for the real thing, human? He asks. Lucius has never been in a real fight. He's been in several since living here, but he was always running. The training in class should help, but he wishes he knew how to punch and kick. The closest thing he has to training like that is a few things Olegri tried to teach him, but she focused mainly on bulking up and being stronger. Wham! Lucius doesn't even see Kane move, but he feels a fist smashing into his left eye. His knees buckle and he stumbles backwards, fighting for balance. Wonk! A foot pushes violently into his stomach and he doubles over in pain, falling backwards to the ground. He rolls on the ground, holding his gut, trying to suck the air back in. Come on, human. Fight back a little, Kane demands as he stands above Lucius. I don't understand how your race got to be so powerful. Lucius lashes out with his leg and connects with its intended target. Kane hits the ground, grabbing his groin in pain and shock. As Lucius begins to stand, the ground swallows his hands and feet, immobilizing him. That wasn't fair, human, Spaz says as he watches from a few feet away. And this is, Lucius asks, trying to pull his hands free from the ground that has swallowed it. It's fair for me. We use magic so we don't have to touch your filthy species. It's not my fault you can't defend yourself. So do you ever get that sinking feeling? Spaz remarks as Lucius begins to sink slowly into the earth. Skank cackles in the background, watching Lucius sink as Spaz helps Kane to his feet. Leave him alone, a soft voice from the porch demands. Kane, Spaz, and Skank turn their attention to the porch. Zed is standing on the porch, hood still up to hide his face. Beat it, freak. This is none of your business, Skank says. Zed slowly walks down the stairs of the porch. As he reaches the ground, he pulls his hood back, revealing his completely bald, scar-covered head and face. Leave him alone, he repeats. If that was meant to scare us, it didn't work. But it does make me ill, Spaz remarks, walking to Zed and staring angrily into his eyes. I think you should leave before we make you look worse. Zed says nothing in response. He lowers his head seemingly in shame and stares at the ground. Spaz looks at Zed's pathetic response and says, That's what I thought you would do. Go home, freak. Spaz starts to turn away so he can resume his torture of Lucius, but he feels something just grab hold of his feet. Looking down, he can see the earth swallowing his feet. Zed, your use of magic is as pathetic as you, he remarks, turning back to face Zed. His eyes center on Zed, who is still looking down at the ground. So are you going to let me go, or do I have to use my power to save me? Spaz asks. Zed still doesn't answer or move. Spaz concentrates using his power to free his feet, and Lucius stops sinking into the ground as Spaz continues to concentrate on his new problem. Lucius can now struggle against the dirt and to free his trapped legs and arms. Spaz and Zed continue to stand in front of one another in the battle for control of the earth element. The battle resembles two men digging, one trying to fill a hole with dirt while the other is trying to empty it. Skank and Kane watch the elemental battle in silence as Lucius frees himself from the earth. He slowly stands, sneaking up behind Skank. With a scream and a charge, he pushes Skank off balance and into Kane. Spaz stops the struggle against Zed as he hears the commotion behind him. Spaz, realizing he has been tricked, turns to face Zed. Whack! Zed hits Spaz with an uppercut that frees him from the earth and sends him backwards to the ground. He closes the distance on the dazed Spaz and steps down on the throat of his adversary, holding him to the ground and choking the fight out of him. Skank and Kane stare at Zed, calculating what to do. Skank stands to his feet and implores, Zed, this isn't your fight, and you couldn't win anyway. The human can't help you, and we outnumber you. Now get your foot off. Skank and Kane begin a slow advance. Zed looks at them and then down at Spaz, who is struggling to breathe. A sharp spike of rock shoots out of the ground beside Spaz's head. Keep walking, and he'll have an extra hole. He'll have extra holes in his head. He exclaims. Kane and Skank stop their advance, and Spaz stops struggling, unable to move from fear. Zed continues talking. Now you said this wasn't my fault. I don't agree. You have been starting fights with me every day. I have ignored your taunts, but no longer. Lucius walks over and hides slightly behind Zed as he continues his speech. You will stop your cruelty to others. The next time you harm anyone with your words or actions, Zed looks down at the Spaz and another spike shoots out of the ground on the other side of his head. I will finish what I started. Zed removes his foot from Spaz and leads Lucius away into the house. And that was chapter 11.
Goodness gracious.
That was, it's funny because, they always say, you write what you know. And what's funny is all of the training and stuff that Mikno is doing with them, even including the meditation, it comes from my background, Aikido. We train the same way. Jiu-Jitsu, we train also. That kind of stuff. It's funny, but it works really well in a book, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, but there's a lot of he said, she said stuff that I need to fill in here. Maybe a little bit more of what's happening in different fights. Because there was a couple conversations there where there was no, luckily you could tell who said it, but it still needed the, Lucius said blah blah blah, or Lucius announced, or blah,
Right.
But yeah.
And maybe some emotional inflections. There was quite a bit. I think I pretty much knew how he was feeling, and so this is a cartoon version of Mikno.
Wow.
Just weird.
That's a hell of a stash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like drawing these faces.
Now they'll have to stay tuned for next week when I do chapter 12. Yay! My days off next week are kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I'm still, there's some things that have to be worked out because, some of the managers need to go help in West Valley or something like that. But what's funny is, what's cool is I have a 3-day weekend.
Really?
Yeah. I actually have right now I have a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, but it might be switched around to where I have Saturday, Sunday, Monday off instead, and I'll switch out that Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's weird. Tomorrow I get to wake up way too early to do a truck.
That's right.
Or food delivery. Yeah.
You get to be in charge of that, huh? Or is it trade off?
It's been a long time since I've done one. But yeah, I don't mind it. It's just that I have to get to work by 4.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So do you have to just be there to?
No, I have to put it away.
Oh, you have to put it away?
The way it works is truck drivers use kind of a roller system where they roll everything onto this belt or whatever you want to call it, and everything's scanned and marked, and then put onto dollies and wheeled in and put away.
Mm.
It's a fairly easy, or it's done better than any other place I've ever worked.
Yeah.
But they'd get much more food than any place I've ever worked, also. Because a lot of restaurants, when you're working as a manager or chef or whatever, when the food gets delivered, they deliver it. Some places get 2 deliveries a week, so the orders aren't so big, but they'll, it's easier to put away.
Yeah.
No, where I work now, it's once a week, and the orders are huge.
Huge.
So it takes a team of 4 people usually to put everything away.
Goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm. Yep, getting 4 people to volunteer to wake up at 4 in the morning. But I'd much rather have the truck, because sometimes, in the past we've had the truck interrupt the opening of the store,
Mm-hmm.
and it came at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock when the restaurant was supposed to be is supposed to be open and stuff. And I'd much rather have it so early in the morning that we get done before the place opens. So that's always a plus. Anyway.
Well, did you watch the Super Bowl?
No. Why would I watch the Super Bowl?
I don't know.
I've never.
That's true. You're not a sports fan.
Well, it's funny because people will ask me, so what kind of sports do you like to watch? And it's always the same response. I like to watch MMA, boxing, and that's about it.
You're like a 6'8" black guy who everybody assumes plays basketball.
Right. Yeah.
When I was on my mission, there was a guy.
Everybody does assume I play basketball.
He was 6'7", and he never played basketball. Well,
I've played with
he
friends.
played, but he never played, right?
Right.
And
it's just like all the idiot coaches that I used to when I would go to school. I went to like 5 different high schools. I moved around a lot, but I would show up in school, and you'd go to.
So you see you walking down the hall and be like,
"There's my new linebacker." Yeah, that's
"There's
exactly
the new lineman.
That's
I got my offensive tackle. I got my tackle."
Because they would, they'd see me in PE or something, and believe it or not, at one time in my life, I was actually quite physical. And they were like, "All right, an athletic," and so they'd immediately invite me to try out for the team, and my usual response was no. Or hell no.
His response was, "Stop. I love trees."
I don't know if that would have helped.
Stop.
But yeah. So yeah, I never had a coach actually talk me into anything.
You only solve conflict through kindness.
Although at one time I did actually, I was on a volleyball team in high school.
Volleyball?
Yeah, I liked volleyball. I liked
really?
volleyball a lot, yeah.
I would not thought of you playing volleyball.
I'm tall.
Tall, but...
And when I smash that ball in your face, you can feel it.
Can you jump?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Well, at 48, maybe not as much as I could back then.
That's funny. I still just, for some reason, I don't see you jumping. That's fine.
Being tall, I didn't have to jump as high.
Oh man, that game! I wasn't gonna watch the Super Bowl because I don't know why I have to get so anxious about it, and
Why did you have money
doesn't.
on you?
No, I don't have money on it. It doesn't affect my life at all.
Right.
But I just get so tied up in the.
So who were you rooting for? Because I didn't know who was playing until the day of, and I asked somebody, so who's playing? They're like, it's the Buccaneers and who else was it? Chiefs. I'm like, okay, there's two places.
So I was rooting for Brady and against Mahomes. I mean, I really, so in sports, I don't know if it's like this in other things, but in sports, you just kind of come to find people that you root for and ones that you root against. I'm not so much of a team. I like players and coaches and things like that. That's who I'll follow. So it feels like I jump off on bandwagons, but really all I'm doing is that guys leave and go to other places and stuff. And so I like Brady. I like Brady back in the day because him and Kurt Warner at the time seemed like to be the only two quarterbacks I was watching that were just, they were hitting guys 40 yards down the line, down the field. When these guys were in full stride, especially Warner, they called it the greatest show on turf. And
yeah, it's kind of nice when they don't even have to turn around; they just do this, and it goes
pretty much. I mean, full stride. They turn; it's right there. They don't have to lay out for it. They don't have to break their stride.
Right.
And that's a catch touchdown, right? And so those two are the ones I started following a lot. So I've been following Brady ever since. And then there's just ones like Mahomes and some other ones that, they win a couple games and they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and everybody touts them as the greatest. And so you just you end up rooting against them just because everybody else seems to just...
You hate somebody because everybody loves them.
Not just loves them, but like overly loves them. You know what I mean? Like,
that's terrible.
What did he do that was so great?
Right.
They won a couple games. In fact, I laughed my ass off the first game that Mahomes finally lost because it looked like he was crying like, what? What? You guys said I was gonna win.
Right.
You guys said I get to win all of them. How come I lost? It looked like, it's literally the look in his face was, wait, nobody said I could lose a game. And it's just like, from that time forward, just beat him every time you can. I just love that shit. And so I didn't want to watch the game. I knew I'd be all...
I think you're a little too emotionally invested in that.
Right. A little too emotionally invested. So I wasn't going to watch the game. Then my dad calls up and says, hey, why don't you come down to Vegas for your birthday?
All right. Oh, by the way, happy birthday. I mean, I know I said it on Facebook. But...
And, hey, we'll watch the game.
Yeah.
So I had to sit and watch the game and be like, nah.
It's funny, like, it's funny when there's football fans, like my sister Angie is married to a football fanatic, and man, it seems like to be a family pastime watching football together. But I grew up and my dad wasn't really into sports at all either, gosh. And so
my dad,
we just like enjoyed dinners and talked. For Christ's sakes. Not reliving the stats of, what's his face on the TV.
I don't remember any of that type of, like we were into it like that with Dad.
Right.
But, he definitely watched Monday Night Football. He definitely watched football if it was sports on, he's watching. Right now on his DVR, there's just tons of college basketball games. And, he's been watching the Golden State Warriors basketball and football. But it's like...
You know what my favorite game to watch?
Volleyball. He loves volleyball.
You know what my favorite game to watch is? Women's beach volleyball.
Women's beach volleyball.
Love it. For obvious reasons. Doesn't matter who wins. Because I win.
My wife's like, why do you have to wear such skimpy outfits?
For me.
Yeah. Well,
usually it's a one piece. It's
not usually. Usually it's.
Well, yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's one piece, but most of the time it's.
Sometimes it's a one piece, but usually it's a two piece.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, but that's the sport. That was the sport. That's where the sport was born.
Mm-hmm.
Was on the beach, and so that's what you'd wear on the beach playing the sport. So I understand it, but man, I mean,
it's a great game.
I mean, how many knots do they think you tie into those things? How much tape do they have on the inside to keep everything on? Because
I don't care.
Although, is there?
It's still though. Even though I love
But
watching.
how come most of how come it can't be cute?
They are cute.
They're not cute. Well,
plus they have.
You never get past the head.
Bang
past
ass
the
body.
shoulders. You never get past the shoulders.
I'm not saying you're wrong. Yeah, I mean, some of them are cute.
Do you know they wear sunglasses?
Well, if you're asking me if I know their name when the game's over, no.
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know their
knowing
name.
whether or not you get this far up above their shoulders.
They're pretty. Yeah. The only time they ever really do a close-up is when they are doing the serve.
Yeah.
And that's about it. It's a good game.
It's a good game.
That's the way all games should be. They have to do that little jump up in the air. That's that's great.
That's great.
Everything. It's a fantastic game. I highly recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
If you're asking me who's the champions right now, I have no idea.
I can barely even think of, and it isn't. I can't even think of the guys. Well, there's Karch Karai there for a while. Who's it?
Karch Karai. Is this a volleyball person?
Yeah, he was a volleyball, one of the beach guys.
Oh, another thing I used to, or I'd like to watch. I guess it's sports related. Is the World's Strongest Man competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Because a long time ago when I used to lift weights, which I'm getting back into now. I used to follow that pretty close. I used to know the names of all kinds of people who were competing. What was funny is there was way too many of them with the last name Rasmussen.
Rasmussen.
Mm-hmm. They were all from my lineage.
Magnus van Magnussen.
Mm-hmm. Got the big Danish giants.
Yeah. So the Iceland. Well, there's that one Polish guy that was in there. I can't remember his name, but he controlled it for a few good years.
Well, one of the biggest problems that the Great Danes, the Danes that were there, had was they would be big and tall like me, massive, and some of the things like the Atlas Stone, there's advantages and disadvantages to being tall, because with the Atlas Stone, when you're lifting that sucker up, if you're short, you don't have as far to lift, and it's easier to carry. But then again, when you're trying to put it on the taller pedestals, you struggle.
The last two pedestals,
right?
You're in
right.
trouble.
Right. So there's that trade-off. Because
Yeah,
I've seen them compete against some of the shorter guys, and the shorter guys are like, bam, bam, and then they get to that last two, and they're like, crap.
Well, because most of them just have to cling it.
Right. They roll it up.
But now that guy has to cling it and now jerk it.
Right.
Up over, and that's where the problem comes.
Yeah, but then there's some advantages that the shorter people have way, over any. There's like there's that one that's a log lift or whatever, where you have to hold stuff for a long time, and the shorter you are, you seem to have an advantage over the taller guys.
The deadlifting. The shorter guys have much better advantage over it. None of us have to lift it up as far.
Right. But yeah. I still think sometimes I wish I would have continued, lifting, all the way into college, and then maybe got into some of that World's Strongest Man stuff.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
But
my
it's really weird though. When somebody gets injured not from pulling a muscle or something like that, but like blows something out in their freaking brain or something. Aneurysm, immediate, dead, right there. It's crazy what the human body can endure before it explodes.
Yeah, that's not the life for me. And then those guys, they're taking just years off their life.
Oh yeah. And I never, I can say
I don't even know how they ever get their bodies back.
I know, and I can say with pride that I never did any drugs, including steroids. So, although I think if I would have continued down that path, you have to compete. You have to compete.
Yeah.
So, I actually knew a kid in high school that took steroids.
Oh yeah.
And man, he was jacked. I mean, he was just huge, no fat on his body at all. But he had all kinds of problems. When he'd get a nosebleed, it wouldn't stop for like hours.
Sheesh. We had a kid. We were just playing pickup football.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturdays at school, college, and he was on the team. He was so jacked, just he wanted to hit everybody. We're just playing touch,
right?
And he still found a way to broke his collarbone that day.
Yep.
Stupid people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, stupid people. Oh man, that was ridiculous.
So you're saying that one guy in that picture there is which they can't see on the screen anymore.
Oh yeah.
You're saying that he looks like he's wearing a Count Dracula cape.
Yeah, I was just trying to make some type of a fancy court
right
gestury type of, not so much of a gesture, but just somebody who would work at the court or at the ball or whatever, just stands at the door and announces the lords and ladies as they come in the door.
Oh yeah, but I mean in the story,
his kingdom.
But in the story, the crier is a halfling.
Oh,
so it looks like it looks like a little kid.
Oh, you said halfling.
Yeah.
I thought of half human, half. Oh.
No, he's a halfling. So he looks like a little child screaming at the top of his lungs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Lord and lady, blah blah blah. Reminds me of that. There was a very old Saturday Night Live skit. It was like, Lord and Lady Douchebag. It's like, oh, it's good to see you again. We were just saying the other day, where are those douchebags? But yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, that is a long trip down there to Vegas.
Yeah, but I mean, the nice thing is it's just one road. You don't ever have to. But
and this time, man, Leland did really good. We got him out of the car on the way down in Cedar City, found a park and played in there for about a good half hour. But coming back, he did really good, and he slept good. And we only got out of the car once, but that was because in St. George, we were dropping something off for my sister-in-law to my niece and nephew there. And then after that, he was able to stay in the car and didn't even fuss and cry. We came straight. We hit a straight shot.
You know, I wonder sometimes.
It was nice.
You know, because people will ask me, you know, where I'm from, etc. And I tell them that I moved around a lot and stuff when I was a kid. But, you know, sometimes I'll jokingly say that I grew up in a car. and it's true. Yeah. And I often wonder if, you know, because, like, they always say necessity is the mother of invention, etc., etc. But I sometimes wonder if I have a good imagination because I spent my life growing up in a car.
Mm.
You know, there was nothing else to do except imagine shit, make up stories.
Right. I don't know. I mean, who was I talking? They're talking about the trip, and I made mention that when I did it, when I was a kid, we would come from California to here, across the salt flats and all that.
Yes. Boring drive, by the way.
It was July, 55 miles an hour, with no air conditioning and the windows down.
Yep.
It took 12 hours to cross all that crap, you know, or 12, 16 hours. It was something ridiculous. We'd have to get up at the crack of dawn, and we'd get there way late.
Yep.
And now, man, I averaged 80 miles an hour. Most of it was at 85.
Right.
Just clipping.
Right.
Had the cruise control on, and I just had my hand up next to it, and I just go plus, minus. Pass, guys pass, and I click it back up, and I just drove with the stupid cruise control.
Yeah.
And
feels like Star Trek that way.
A little. It was
Warp
it was
7.
nice. We rented one of those Dodge Chargers.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. I mean,
it was between that and the Nissan, and she asked me which one we wanted, and
right.
I was like, let's try the Charger.
Because yeah, sometimes you really luck out when you go to those places and rent a car. You never ever get to choose what you want. Because I mean, I remember one time we were taking a trip to Denver, and you know, which is not a very far trip, but we didn't want to take our car, and so we rented a car and went in there because we thought we were getting an economy car, and they didn't have any, of course. Which I love the Seinfeld episode that made fun of that. But anyway, so we wanted an economy car. They didn't have one, and so they ended up giving us a full-sized 4-door Chevy Silverado truck, and it was as fancy as you can imagine. I mean, it had you know, leather seats, interior, all kinds of doodads and stuff that, you know, we didn't need. But that was the first time I ever drove a big truck like that and thought, yeah, this is nice.
This is nice. Yeah. Well, the last time we went, we did a pickup because we wanted all the room, and what they gave us was a Dodge Ram Bighorn.
Nice.
Which is an upper middle trim, and man, those seats were so nice. Put it in a perfect little spot. My back, I got out down there, my back didn't hurt. I got out there this time, I was hunched over for 2 days before I finally stood up straight, because the seats just were not as good in this Charger, and it's the same company, you know.
Right.
But man, that Ram. And then my brother has a nice little Ford F-150 down there that it's not very high. It's not very lifted. It's just it's down, but it's still 4-wheel drive. It's like the perfect height that I want. Right. I'm not gonna go too crazy climbing. I just want to be able to go down a dirt path if I need to, you know, and back in a ways or whatever, some fire roads, you know, and
Right.
and that type of, and snow, deal with the snow, but my knee right here hurts. It's all tender because it was right against the dash in that Charger, and there was just little things like that made that car. It's like, wow, I really love the 30 miles to the gallon that it got at 85 miles an hour. It still made 30 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
I mean, we went all the way to Vegas.
Right. No Phillips.
Drove around Vegas and came back to the Loves where it's the exit to Ely.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, no way. I'm going to take a gas.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. That truck we had to fill up at least once on the way down.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that bugs me when they do stuff like that when they switch out your car is if you want an economy car and they switch you out to a luxury car or something like that, a truck.
Right.
And it's like, well, we weren't just getting the economy car because it's $20 or it's, you know, as a whole $50 less than the premium car. We were also getting that car because we wanted to pay less in gas.
Right.
Now, I have heard, because of their policy of you get kind of whatever's here when we get here,
Right.
and we're doing the special thing by letting you have the better car for the cheaper price. I have heard that you can request to get like compensation for the gas difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I never asked.
Yeah, I heard you could do it. Once again, I never asked.
It's funny because there's another time we did
I had to open up the windows, get a little warmage in here.
I remember another time we went on a trip to California, and it was we did a rental, and we actually got the car that we asked for. We actually wanted to try out a hybrid, gas/electric. I can't remember if it was the Prius or if it was a Voltage. Can't remember. But anyway, that thing, what was weird is when you'd start the car, it made no noise.
Made no noise, yeah.
You'd click it on, and if you didn't look at the dashboard to see that it said on, you had no idea.
Well, this thing was very quiet. I mean, you hit it on, you could hear it. It wasn't like it wasn't a big V8 going.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that car, it got spectacular gas mileage. So.
Yeah, no, I've been. I think the Model M is about one of the ugliest things. That Tesla Model M.
Oh.
The cheap one. So ugly. I would rather have the S, but
I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like the whole Tesla thing is it's just out of my league, you know.
Oh yeah, but that's the problem. Those are so expensive.
Yeah.
So freaking expensive. There's nothing better than being told that you're an asshole, but then kept out of
right.
the.
Right. I agree 100%. It's like you're ruining the environment with this. It's like, well, great. Let me have one of those. You know, I mean, I'll gladly drive one if it didn't cost more than a stretch limo. I mean,
not more than a strip. I mean,
it's crazy.
$90,000. What?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. $75,000. I mean, I think I said this a couple of times ago. You know, we're looking at having to want to update our car, and if we can get we get enough from selling my dad's house.
Right.
But
it's crazy though. I mean,
we don't want to have to put all of it into a car.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then and even when you're looking at, okay, well, we'll compromise on mileage and age of the car, you're still looking at some ridiculous number.
Well,
if you want something that's reliable.
And also, I mean, this is going to get me into a tangent, or not a tangent, but something that I've always believed and that I get angry about. I don't really like insurance. To me, you know, it used to be that everything went down in price over time, you know, including auto parts. And now, since you have to have insurance for cars, the price of auto parts just keeps going up. It's like, why is that? I mean, it's crazy, you know. I mean, you know, to fix cars is a ridiculously expensive process now.
That's kind of like RAM in a computer. I never understood how they can bring out the brand new RAM, and it's $100 for 2 sticks of the most powerful stuff. Wait a year, and those 2 sticks are now $200 or $300.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because there's a scarcity of the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. They have all these sticks of RAM with nothing to do with it. It's like, why not make them $20? And I bet people would buy them and still use them. But no, they go the other way. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But, I mean, how is, you know? Then they're like, well, we'll just raise up the minimum wage. $15 an hour is still not going to allow me to buy a $90,000 car.
Nope.
Not even a $40,000 car.
Correct.
You do that on you price one out on the thingies, on the website.
The only way
that tells you it's a $800 to $900 monthly payment. You're like,
the only way you can find a cheap car, and this is the way it's always been, is when a new car manufacturer comes out, they usually will price some car of theirs cheap as hell,
right.
Just so they can get a foothold in the market and compete.
Oh,
but when's the last time we've have a new car manufacturer? Tesla was the last new manufacturer.
Well, see, our thing is well, we don't want to do a car payment.
Yeah.
And so that's buying something outright, but then you have to buy something with some mileage on it. And then, so I watch these mechanics on YouTube doing reviews of cars and things.
Right. See
and
which one has the longest life.
Well, just, you know, and the consensus is, look, if you're just going to have it for 3 to 5 years, doesn't matter what car pretty much you go out and buy. There's a couple brands and a couple models, they say, I've seen these at 50,000 miles seize up.
Right.
I've seen them seize up with doing oil changes and everything. And it's still just crap. But for the most part, you know, they're like, there's a very few cars that once they reach 60,000 miles, 70,000 miles, that are still going to be reliable and relatively maintenance.
Right.
Free.
But I mean, you know, it's funny because everybody says stuff, you know, like where, you know, if your car gets into the 100,000 mile range, etc., that, you know, it's time to look for another car and stuff. And it's like, everybody I've ever known in my family, everybody I've ever known as friends, there's not a car that I've seen out there that doesn't get into the 100,000, 200,000 mile range, because people just don't have that much money.
Yeah,
I mean, apparently I am just not in the higher tax bracket.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Before 2008, they said that people were changing out their car every 3 years. That was the average that somebody kept their car.
I find that hard to believe.
They were doing it all. The guys were left and right buying cars at work all the time.
Because the thing is who are they lumping into that category? Because
I think with leases.
Because if you are, say you are Enterprise Rent-A-Car or you are Hertz, you buy a bunch of cars and you turn around and you sell those back at a year, 2 years, and if that's going on to the average, then of course the average is going to be that.
That's part of it. But I still worked with plenty of guys, and it seemed like after 3 years they were bored with their car, so they go trade it in for something new. And they're perpetually always in a car loan. You know what I mean?
In my family, I can't think of any, and I'm including my extended family, cousins, etc. You know, we come from a ranching background also. There is not a car that is bought by my family that doesn't get driven into the ground.
Yeah.
They drive it until it literally falls apart. And that can take up to 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they might get another car in the meantime, but they won't trade up, you know, in 2 years, you know.
Yeah. There's plenty of people that are always doing that, though.
But yeah,
I mean, we kept our cars, man. Our one car was a 95, and the other one was a 96, and so, but we didn't buy that one until 2006. So we've had that Jeep out there since 2006.
Yeah.
So we've had it for 14 years.
Right. Yeah.
But it's so small now. It's just tiny that we need more room and we need something. I mean, we got a child now, so we probably should have something that's a little more safety.
Oh, I think that solid metal Jeep that you got there is pretty safe. Other cars are just going to bounce right off of that thing.
No, that's so light. It really is. I took it 4-wheeling, and there were some sections, and I did the same thing in other cars. And as we came over these little rises, you know, and we went down these little sections, that thing was so light that it just skidded down it. Whereas the other cars still had grippage. And
well, does that mean it's light or heavy? Because it's going down the hill.
It just felt like it was light. It felt like it just couldn't keep on the ground, you know. Just
because to me that seems like it was slipping because it was, you know, heavier than the other cars.
It was a big old van, right. 4-wheel drive van, and those things didn't slip.
Yeah.
But that thing just kind of to the next level.
Where were you at, in Moab?
No, it was up in Kennedy Meadows.
Because that Slick Rock Trail, man, I don't know how anybody makes it through that sometimes without.
It wasn't on rock. It was on dirt. It was really crazy, weird.
Yeah. Did you see those Jeep guys going up that Slick Rock Trail? You know, and for anybody that's not in Utah that's watching this, if you've walked on sandstone, it's slippery just to walk on. And trying to go down a rock there's no grip. I don't know why there's not more people that get their cars destroyed in that. I mean, there are quite a few.
Do. I don't.
Yeah, there are quite a few that do.
And that's the reason why they use Jeeps is because there's so many available parts.
Yep. And also they're fairly light, so when they do turn over, you just tip them back up. Yeah.
So we don't know what we're gonna do. We're kind of stuck with the idea of having to spend a pretty penny because we know we're gonna have to get something up around 50,000-60,000 miles for the most part. Maybe 30,000 if we get the right thing, but
how do you usually shop? Meaning, do you go through?
I was just
dealers?
looking on KSL.
Just KSL, yeah.
I don't know. It seems like you'll get a better deal if you just buy it from somebody.
From a person, you mean?
From a person, yeah.
Yeah, it's hit or miss, I think.
Because one of the other things with the dealer is nobody wants you to pay cash.
Right.
Everybody wants
finance.
To finance it, and all the things I've seen say don't let them know that you want to pay cash.
Yep.
Whereas if you're going to go and buy it from a private owner, it's just cash, you know.
Well, yeah.
So you don't have to go there and be like, it's like he wants $30,000 for the car. Well, you're going to give him $30,000. It's not 30 plus 5,000 for this taxes plus.
Right.
Plus they want another 10,000 for finances.
Right.
And they say, oh, well, your bill is this. And you're like, no.
Because I remember one time when Grandpa, we drove to Denver just so he could buy a new truck, a Bronco. You know, my family's a Ford family. Anyway, so we drove all the way into Colorado to buy a new truck, and he actually went in there with cash, big old wad of cash, and he told the guy, the dealer, you know, I will do anything possible where I don't have to sign a bunch of frickin' paperwork. I'll sign 1 or 2 documents, but I want you to make this as painless as possible, and I have this big stack of money to make sure that you do that. And the guy basically had to apologize and say that there's no way to not get out of doing all this paperwork and to go through the whole financing process and do all this kind of stuff. Even if you have a big lump of cash, they won't just take the cash and give you the car. It's so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So it really pissed off Grandpa. So
Yeah, so I really don't want to have to
do all that.
Go to a dealership and bother with all that, but
yep.
Because then you have to do that, and then
you have to pay it off, and you suddenly have a bill every month.
Right. And I know she just wants to have it done with, so.
Yeah, I kind of wish mine was all paid off. I mean, instead of having, you know, a $400 bill or whatever every month, I'd have $400 extra.
Yeah, that's pretty much why we never, as soon as we paid off our car, we never went and got a second one.
Mm-hmm.
Or decided, oh, we need something new. It was like, this is working just fine, and we liked it. And
yep.
Yeah, no, it's like, I think our car payment was $325.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on a $15,000 loan.
Yeah.
For that car. So then it's like, so that means if we doubled it to 30, it'd be $650. So then you triple that for your Tesla at 90.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at $1,800 a month.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know.
Just for your car?
I don't know how anybody affords that. I mean, sometimes I'll just try to stretch it out to where, you know, instead of making payments.
Yeah, they do it on 8 years.
Right.
They got 8-year loans.
It's like, screw this. Like I said, I don't understand why cars and stuff. Well, I guess I do, because in my mind, the reason that cars and stuff are not cheaper than they are is because insurance. Because I've said this probably 1,000 times to different people. In my opinion, the world is being ruined by insurance and lawyers.
Insurance and lawyers.
Yeah.
How about lawyers that work for insurance companies?
Because to me, I mean, this is this is kind of a philosophy type thing, or that I'm about to get into, where
that really.
My thing with insurance is it seems like insurance leads to socialist programs. You know, I mean, I know that may sound like a stretch, but it's really not when you think about it. You know, because when you talk about the healthcare thing, everybody's like, oh well, insurance is important, blah blah blah. But all the insurance did was make it so people would have insurance, and the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals could raise their prices to ridiculous amounts, and then the brainchilds in Congress or whatever say, well, this healthcare costs so damn much now, that we should really think about universal healthcare and free healthcare to everybody. And it's like, well, there's nothing really free in life, you know, and we'd just be paying for it in taxes and blah 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 and yada yada yada, and that would raise the prices even more, you know, because it's ridiculous. I mean, the biggest problem I have when I discuss this with people is a lot of them are younger and they don't remember how great insurance was before 9/11. You know, insurance was fantastic. And then as soon as, you know, Obamacare got in there and you know, his whole promise of, you know, if you love your plan, you can keep your plan. Nobody kept their plan. Everybody's plan tripled in cost and covers, you know, half of what it used to cover. I mean, I remember, you know, when I first moved to Utah and I was working at the Hilton and I had insurance through them, my insurance covered everything. You maybe had a copay of like $15, but it covered everything.
Yeah, when I worked at Frito, our insurance, we had a PPO. I paid $200 to have back surgery. $250.
And I've already said this on a previous podcast. I went in to the hospital for COVID. They gave me a shot of steroids and gave me one X-ray, and the total bill was up over $5,000, nearly $6,000, and I am paying out of pocket $3,000 of that. And of course, I had to make it on payments because who has $3,000 laying around?
Right. Well, it was like we were looking at those plans when we had to have it, and it was like, I guess we'll pick that one because if all we need is a prescription, at least we can do that. But for anything major, you have to pay completely out of pocket. You have to pay up to $5,000 before they start covering. You have to pay the whole deductible, and I was like,
yep.
You can't even afford to use the insurance that you're being forced to buy.
Correct. Thanks, Obama. But yeah, I mean, and I knew when a Republican got into office, he wasn't going to fucking change a damn thing, and then nothing changed.
Well, he didn't change that, but at least he did walk back the having to have it.
Yeah, the mandate.
You could opt out.
Right. Yes, that's nice that he did that.
That was okay. But yeah. Now those guys are all back into power again.
Yep. Now we're going to have to deal with HR 127. Yay!
Did you see that Time article? Did you see the
Yes.
Tim's Time article?
Yes, I listened to all that on Tim Pool. I also listened to. He wasn't the only one that talked about it. What really kind of sucks, though. I mean, I know that Rogan doesn't really. He tries to. I mean, politics comes up. And, you know, we try to avoid politics also because we try to stick to stories, but it comes up. But he hasn't said one damn thing about it.
No.
But, yeah, Tim Pool covers it. There was a couple other people
that try to tell him weed's bad for you.
But it was, you know, it's funny, you know, I mean, and, you know, they basically admitted, you know, in so many words.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so many words they just said, okay.
It's like those
yeah, we did it.
Idiots that film themselves doing a crime and then release
the footage
and post it because they just have to tell somebody what they did.
Well, yeah, because to coordinate something that is that big, and there would be so many players involved, that of course they want some kind of recognition because that was a big, huge con job.
The one that really sticks out, the one line that sticks out to me, is about the recruiting the armies of poll workers. And in my mind, when you first read that, I thought of polls, when they call and take a poll, And I thought that's what he's talking about.
No.
No, they're talking about the guys, the people that counted all the ballots.
Right. Yep.
So there was no widespread, but there was. Mm-hmm. But it was for our good.
Yes. Yay. Freedom.
I can't think of that stuff. That just gets me all worked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny though, you know, as bringing it back to stories. As a story writer, you know, especially, I mean, right now I'm reading.
Oh yeah,
I'm reading, you know, this Shatteredtime stuff, and it's great. But man, as soon as we turn this over to a town called Liberty, and we really start plugging away on that, man, all of this stuff that, you know, we predicted in story form is all going to come to pass. And it's these stories are no longer going to be fiction; they're going to be a blueprint, or whatever you want to call it, of, you know, or just history. You know, I mean, it's super sad.
In fact, I was going to talk to. I remember that now. I was going to talk to you. Well, it is 5:50.
Yeah, we're fine.
And
I don't have to leave till 6:30ish.
Oh, 6:30. Okay.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time.
All right.
So talk away. What were you gonna say?
No.
Come on, it's story related though, man.
It is story related. Well, so a long time ago, I talked about us writing a story because so you guys know I'm somewhat religious, and so the Book of Mormon. In the Book of Mormon, there's a whole section at the end there where it talks about these two people coming together and fighting. There's the believers against the non-believers. And they both talked about each one of them was a bloodthirsty nation. So all they did was thought about what they could do to the other person, inflicting violence, you know, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And there was a series of Christian books put out a while ago, about 10 years ago, I think, that were like huge sellers. And they were kind of, you know, they're about the end days and all the things that happened during, because there's a lot of death and destruction happened during the end days. So I thought about writing a series of books that just kind of takes that to a whole new level. Right. Of showing all the bad things that happen to the quote-unquote bad people, you know, and kind of really, like, poking the bloodlust of those people, you know, to see how many of them would buy the book and then come to find out it was a joke, to see if they loved their own wickedness to a point, right? So I thought it might be interesting to do that now and do a book where a bunch of people are getting chased down, hunted down, doing all this stuff, and who the protagonists and all that stuff, and it's all around today's point of view of a certain group going after another certain group, and all the horrible things they can't wait to do that certain group. And write that kind of story, and then maybe at the end of it, some of them will be like, wait, were we that group? You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny. I was at Walmart, and I went through the bargain bin of movies, which is a pastime of mine. I love stories. And, you know, a Walmart bargain bin of stories is one of those places where you can find stuff. And there was a movie that I watched way back when at the theater. I never read the books, and I should. But I watched the first one in the series, which was Divergent.
Oh, Divergent.
And I thought it was an okay movie, but I didn't have enough interest to see the second or the third one. But I found in the bargain bin
They sure rooted that out of you.
I found in the bargain bin, I saw they had all 3 of them in a set for cheap. So I thought, oh, hell, why not? I'll actually watch this. So I watched 1 and 2 last night. And, yeah, I mean, they're not the best. I mean, once again, I haven't read the books, so I can't tell you whether the story in the books is great or not. But, I mean, the movies are...
The first one was okay.
Right, the second one was kind of boring. I mean, I know the overarching theme is, you know, you got these people in society that are being shunned and stuff like that, the divergence, and you know, they're being hunted down because they have the ability to fight against the system, meaning that they were literally drugging people, turning them into robot soldiers, basically, and using those robot soldiers to kill other people. And if they were divergent, the serum that they used to turn them into robot soldiers didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, which is great. I mean, that's, you know, on a political level, when you're looking at a story like that, it does simplify it down for you, too, where it's like, oh, okay, yes, that's what the government wants. They want, you know, people that will just do their job without question. You know, they will pull the trigger on anybody. You know, and that's what that's what they want. You know, and the last thing that they want in this world is free thinkers, which are the divergents. You know, so yes, that's a great overarching theme of the story, and that's one of the reasons, or that's one thing that I is wanting me to actually read the books, because I'm guessing that the books focus more on that than the other stuff.
Probably more than the love triangle.
Right.
I can't remember. Did they only do 3? I know that.
I haven't seen the third one yet. I have it at home.
I know the last one became almost like a direct-to-TV
right
movie. The second one didn't do
very
well, and the third one just couldn't catch steam, and it just got worse and worse with what they were.
Well, the thing is,
wanting to do with it.
The reason that I think that it went that way is because in the first one, it almost felt like a complete story that you know, because the good guys win, the bad guys, you know, lose, but the bad guy doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Bad girl, I should say. And so in the second one, it seems like it's gone to its complete conclusion because there's a war where they fight against you know, the government, and actually you know, she's able to open up this secret box thing and get this message from the outside world, because they live in Chicago and it's all fenced off, and they think the world outside of Chicago is dead and that nobody else is alive, that they're the last people on the planet. And
I didn't know that.
And so they, you know, she's trying to find these divergent people because there's this box that they have to go through all 5. Was it 5 factions? I think all 5 tests to get this thing to open, and they would get this secret message. And so when the message finally gets out,
to drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. God, I love that movie. Anyway, so son of a bitch, it's a goddamn commercial. Anyway, they learn that there's still people living outside the wall, there's still people alive, and that the system was set up with all the different factions, that the divergence were the key to the whole thing. They wanted people to discover that they were divergent, and that the divergence would lead them to this, you know, freedom, to this, you know, unity. And so that's how the second one ends, and the bad guy or bad girl or whatever actually dies, so it feels like it's come to its conclusion. But I think what's going to happen is when they get to the real world, or the world outside the fence, that something else is going to happen, and, you know, and the corruption is probably going to be just as bad as it was there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of interested. I probably won't watch it tonight, but probably tomorrow, something.
So many of those shows, like even like the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
I think I
did read the Hunger Games books.
I think I liked it better, like the second time, or just thinking about some of the concepts in it.
Right.
Have been better than when I first initially watched it.
Right.
But so there's a so that one, it was like all they had to do was focus on her at the beginning, but then they needed more substance, so then they tried to focus on the political stuff in the end movies, and
right.
it was like, well, that probably should have been up front throughout the whole thing. But,
yeah. Well, that's another thing that I was super disappointed with, and because going to this is all going to be a Star Wars reference, Anyway, in the Star Wars, 4, 5, 6, the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and the original Star Wars, those are great stories, because they follow this, one kid, and you get to learn all about the Force and all that kind of stuff. But in my mind, I always think about what happened before that, and then all of a sudden they did make the prequels, books 1, 2, and 3, and I thought, that those stories should have been all about politics. They did a few scenes where, like, there's that one famous line where she's like, "So this is how freedom dies, to thunderous applause."
To thunderous applause, yeah.
And they
Sounds
should have stuck to that kind of political theater, in that story, because including stupid shit like pod racing and Jar Jar Binks, for Christ's sakes, really kind of ruined that, when they could have just shown all the horrible, devious things that politicians do to gain control.
Right. And they could have, and they probably would have, if it was more, if it had been for adults. But once again,
yeah,
it was a children's show.
Shows are written for young teenagers, and
they're written for them. And then what's interesting is when they grow up, they can be like, hey, hopefully they'll be able to see
the other stuff.
The other stuff that he put into that, but it's like, it's even like with that Mandalorian show that they have now. Favreau went to Lucas and said, you got any advice on this, and blah blah blah. And the one thing that Lucas said to him was, never forget that Star Wars is for kids. It's for the kids. And he's like, okay, and I don't know if he had Baby Yoda in mind by then, but even if he didn't, Baby Yoda might be cute and cuddly and the kids love him, but the character is not cute and cuddly.
Right.
And he's been a great character. In fact, I don't want to see that character grow up to be a Jedi. Mm-hmm. I want to see that character grow up to be a Force-sensitive Mandalorian scoundrel like the Mandalorian is, and those two on adventures throughout the galaxy. Right. I think that would have been awesome. I wanted to see the kid come back in the Mandalorian armor, Mm-hmm. But
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that there was a big opportunity missed. Yes, it would have turned it into a more of an adult film, and kids would have thought it was the most boring shit in the world.
But, they already do. They think all that stuff is boring.
Yeah.
All the trade talks, because they're all just endless trade talking about this and that. But he's putting so much in it. He's letting you know that all these people are going to go to war and die, and all this is going to affect the the universe. What for? For a few dollars here, for control of what few dollars are being moved over here. And it doesn't always have to be the military industrial complex. We're seeing that it's the technical industrial complex right now.
Right.
We're seeing back in 2008, we saw that it was the insurance industrial complex.
Right.
You know, the medical, right? And so, and what's just fascinating, it's amazing how many people today, when you say, you know, I don't understand how they, it's like on Tim's show, how do you not understand the tech companies? Those are companies. Those are businesses. These are oligarchs controlling your political system. That's called fascism. That is so by following those people and carrying out that stuff, you are a fascist. The one thing you said that everybody else were,
right? And that you are anti.
I don't know how it's like, oh, that company over there, that's a company, but this over here, this is not a company. I don't understand. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, is it the dumbing down of humanity? I don't know how you explain it, but I wanted Star Wars. I wanted I wanted more of seeing Anakin ripped apart, I guess, internally. I know he was getting ripped apart, but you know, supposedly, you know, he, like we said last time, he's sitting on the bank crying, all burnt up, saying how much he hates Obi-Wan. I hate you.
Right.
I hate you. And Obi-Wan yelling back, "We were brothers." Where? When were you brothers?
Right.
We never saw brothers doing anything.
Yeah.
We never saw those two kicking back, drinking a beer or something, having fun, or doing any brotherly activities, you know, doing, or even just chumming, you know, what brothers, you know, have back and forth to each other. It was always master, servant. You know, every time he had a chance to cut him down as a Padawan, he would, right? And so it was like, where was that
brotherhood?
Yeah, brotherhood. You know, I mean, the whole point of it is that he failed him. How did he fail him? He failed to be the father figure that Qui-Gon was supposed to be, right? And so that was where the failure happened. And that's what that Dave Filoni talks about, the Duel of the Fates. That was the song that plays when Qui-Gon and Darth Maul is fighting. It's called Duel of the Fates. And they're dueling for the fate of Anakin. Qui-Gon wins, and he gets that father figure to grow up with, and if he dies, then he's going to grow up with Obi-Wan, and not turn out. So it was this fascinating, pivotal fight that I never thought of it that way. Never looked at it like that was the universe hanging on one single little battle on a tiny little planet that nobody really gave two shits about.
Right.
And how much death and destruction happened because of just a little incident like that. So I mean that's great storytelling. But it takes somebody years later to have to point it out to you to explain.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, maybe the storytelling was a little short.
It was.
Or, you know what I mean? We didn't quite understand what it meant for Anakin to go off with him. Not just to learn how to be a Jedi, but how to learn how to be a man. How to learn how to be, you know, a good human. He was going to learn all that from... It was hard to see the step down from Anakin to Obi-Wan
I mean, from Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan to Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's that's one of those things that why sometimes it's so much better to read a story than it is to watch it in a movie, because they'll skip over important lessons like that. Because another movie that I love to watch, and I can watch it over and over and over again, is you ever seen Secondhand Lions? Or yeah, that's what it's called, Secondhand Lion.
oh, with
Yeah.
Robert Duvall
Right.
and Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, and there's that in that story, and I sometimes wish they would have explored it more, is, he beats up those kids in the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and then he tells them this speech about what it takes to become a man, and, he gives them this lesson of life. And I sure do wish that they would have actually taken the time to write down everything he actually said. Because I honestly think that every boy growing up needs to hear those kinds of speeches. They need to understand what it is to be a man. I mean, nowadays
Well, there's a war on it right now.
right. There's an absolute war on being a man and acting. Basically, to me, it all comes down to, you have responsibilities and you don't shirk your responsibilities, and you get this stuff done, and that's basically, to me, what makes a man a man. And of course every man is different. Every man has different responsibilities, etc. But that is the core of what it means. And we have a big problem where, like you said, there's a war on basically where they want to take away everybody's responsibilities and be parents to everybody. And it's scary shit where they're turning the next generation into slaves or wards of the state.
Something. I don't know what they have planned for them, but whatever it is not good. Mm-hmm. And I find it fascinating that China has stepped up their policy and are training, are putting boys through men training. They're doing things to try to make them more manly. I find that fascinating because.
But I will agree again with I can't remember, I think it was a caller that when I was listening to Limbaugh, where some lady called in and she says the most important thing we need to do is as conservatives, or I think as people in general, we need to retake our schools back. We need to reclaim them.
Did you see that? Did you watch any of Tim last night? So out of France came an article from the people that are protesting over there right now. Mm-hmm. They're saying that all this stuff is because of the over-radicalization that's happening in American school systems, and that we need to take back the schools because it's spreading and it's destroying their country right now. And what's fascinating is that's postmodern French philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
You exported it here to our schools, and now it's coming back to bite you in the ass.
Right.
That's just poetic justice.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I would use the word justice in there. It's definitely poetic.
poetic irony. I don't know. Something is poetic though, because I mean, they're sitting there. Literally, it was such a fascinating article. They were complaining,
Right.
and it's just like, it's your philosophy. I mean, you can't get more socially lefty than the French. It seems like,
Right.
you know. I mean, it's like they invented that shit. And now they're crying about how we've taken it to a whole new level.
Well, once again, I mean, I think that's a little simplification of it. Yes, there was, unfortunately, and this is repeated in history, there's way too many, people that get to this elite level where they start trying to make policy that sounds good when you say it, we will take care of everyone. But overall, it's, they want the control. It's not necessarily that they want everybody to have this, perfect, because,
I know one guy I was listening to, he talked about having friends that are wealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who talk in a vernacular of, well, I want to keep my shit.
Right.
And being paranoid that they're going to have their shit taken from them, are willing to do all that stuff out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are willing to try to make these type of laws or try to follow these type of factions that will stop that from taking my shit. It's like it's almost like those people in those sci-fi alien movies. When the aliens are coming, it's always bad aliens. There's always one idiot that goes and says they try to negotiate on man's behalf that nobody sent them to do it for.
Right.
And they're trying to negotiate so that they can get a favorable position within their organization.
Mm-hmm.
And not die, right? It's like, I'll let you have all these people, I'll let you wipe out all this as long as I get to be, it's like Lex Luthor going to Zod and telling him, I'll give you California and all this if you just let me have this. And Zod's like, why?
Right.
Why should I let you have anything?
It reminds me more of
Because I can give you Superman, but it's like,
do you remember that
it's like where's the negotiation from?
that great movie? I mean, this is an underappreciated movie. I think it's one of the best movies out there. Thank you, Stallone. Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
When he's like,
Are you telling me it's a rat burger? Are you telling me right now that I'm eating a rat burger?
And then he eats it.
Yeah, that works.
But no, what's funny is when Wesley Snipes' character is talking to the leader of the free world there, and he's like, I got complete access to the global database, interface, and I don't even know what that shit means. And he's like, well, your abilities were given to you for a purpose. And he's like, well, what happens when I get all this done? And he's like, well, what do you want? And he's like, Malibu. How about all the coastal cities? And it's like, yeah, it's just like the Lex Luthor thing, asking for a little slice of the pie.
Well, but the idea that, I'll give up all the world and the Superman, as long as I get my slice of the pie. I get to keep my shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy was talking about, he's like, no, this isn't like perceived. He's like, this is actual very, very, very rich people that I've heard say these things to me. This is what they're scared about. They're scared about people taking their stuff away. They get paranoid about it. And they're willing to let all this other stuff happen as long as they get to keep their position.
Yeah, no, it's destroying the world. I know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like these actors and stuff. It's like, you guys all need to recycle, have electric cars that you can't afford. You need to have, carbon emissions down, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to live in a 20,000 square foot home.
And have my own jet.
I'm going to fly 50 people across the country, and then we're going to spend a month on a yacht. We're going to burn more fossil fuel to do all that than you will
in a year,
in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to conserve and save, and then when everything goes all policy, and we're all in our little apartments, they'll be still in their mansions enjoying life.
And also, all that stuff doesn't even matter, because as far as sometimes I can't even believe that I go along with this stuff, because sometimes it seems like such a stupid argument. This whole global climate change stuff. Anyway, I mean, I wouldn't put myself in the denial camp, but I
can get behind climate change because you can see it.
Right. But
I mean, it hasn't snowed the same
no
in 10 years here than it was.
And it keeps moving forward as far as, it seems to snow later, all the way into April.
It's snowing later, and it's snowing farther east.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But
what's funny
we're still in an ice age. We're not in Earth's proper climate.
No.
So then what's that mean?
No.
Is Earth's proper climate even habitable to humans?
And I mean, you listen to, people like, Graham Hancock and, and whatever his other
Randall
Carlson, and climate change has existed, way back when, and there's catastrophic events that do more, for climate change than anything else. It's not man, I think it's hubris. I think it's man's, thinking that we're so powerful that we can somehow affect, this kind of stuff. And I don't believe we have much of a pen.
How dare you?
Because, as far as statistics, we have like a 0.2% thing, effect on climate. And then, you look at other countries that are not going to change, like China, who are the biggest producers of the carbon footprint, or the greenhouse gases and all that stuff. We're never going to get them to change, because one of the reasons that they're never going to change is because we buy all their shit.
Well, yeah. Well, you almost wonder sometimes. I don't know, just conspiracy. But keep pushing it long enough, you probably could get people to go to war for it.
Possibly.
Maybe that's the reason why they keep pushing it.
Well, I don't know, but nobody's going to stop buying the goods from China because they're so much cheaper than the ones that are made here, and therefore China's never going to stop human trafficking and slavery and all the stuff the horrible things that they do, and they're never going to stop producing all the gases, etc. So yeah,
we'll have to go make them. Well, how dare they into submission? We'll shame them. How dare you?
Right. But what's his name? Biden put us back on the Paris climate thingy agreement, which I don't get, because all the people that are on the Paris climate agreement, they're not the big offenders,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's the same philosophy. We have to change, but the people that do it don't.
Yeah, the biggest offenders don't. It doesn't matter, because there is no way that they would agree to doing any of that stuff, because it's just it would affect their bottom line too much.
Right. I love how they try to make you feel crappy for your 6-pack little thing that end up around dolphins' faces. When you're in a landlocked state.
Well, and also, so I hate that we keep getting into politics,
and we can't stay out of it.
By the way, it's coming up to 6:30, but no.
Oh, it is.
I just hate the fact that
We'll end here.
we basically fired a bunch of people. As his first thing in office was the Keystone Pipeline is shut down. Everything all those people unemployed immediately. And it's like, oh wow, that was a great idea. All the companies that are doing
and nobody on the other side of the aisle didn't raise a fuss.
No, not a big enough fuss anyway.
Well, who raised the fuss?
Who
raised?
I think what's his name, Trey Gowdy.
I mean,
but he seems to be the only one that ever does.
There used to be a time where people in Congress or Senate and stuff like that, or the House, they would stand up in the House and they would yell the worst things about people across the way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where is that? Where's that? You don't have to agree. Where is that calling out?
Well, what's funny is nobody gets. I mean, it may or may not happen that they call each other out. But now the left has gone to the extreme of it's like watching a basketball game when one guy nudges somebody and they fall over and, oh my God, I broke my pelvis, and they scream and flop on the floor, and it's the same thing, the Republicans or the conservatives in Congress are being blamed for everything that happened on February 6th. And even more, because AOC basically lied her ass off and said that she got death threats and people are bringing guns onto the Senate floor and blah 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 blah. And it's like they were before. They were the people that have a concealed carry permit that happen to be a congressman. They were packing before. Why are you suddenly concerned about it now? And it's just a way for them to basically scream bloody murder and get everybody to, give them their attention, It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
the world we live in. Which is sometimes more entertaining than the stories we talk about.
Truth is always stranger than fiction. You could sit down and try to think of a fucked up, messed up situation, and you'll never come up with something better that hasn't already been
lived in history.
Yeah,
you're right.
You just can't do it because you'll hear a story, you'll see something, you'll be like, "Yeah, right." It's like, no way.
That's one of the reasons that when I write stories, even a science fiction story that has all this magic and shit in it, I love to set it in a historical setting, and I happen to choose the William the Conqueror, which we haven't even gotten to because that doesn't happen until book 2, but still,
Right.
Anyway.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. Shatteredtime.
No, BurntOutStudios.com.
BurntOutStudios.com. You can find my work on Instagram, Jam Spoon.
Look it up.
DeviantArt Jam Spoon.
As far as YouTube, this shows up under Bruce's name, Bruce Phillips.
Bruce Phillips.
But I think we have a link from BurntOutStudios.com to here also.
Yeah. So we have it from Twitch to there to Twitch, and so
I've been trying to post to everything. Every time we do a podcast, I've been posting it on my Facebook page. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, hopefully getting some more followers.
Well, if you were rooting for the Chiefs, then ha 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 ha. If you were rooting for Tampa Bay, then
good job.
Party on. All right, later.
All right, later. Thank you.